Tonight on Reporting Scotland, the man accused of murdering Emma Caldwell admits to indecently assaulting her 8 months before her death. Emma's body was found in Woodland in South Lanarkshire in April 2005. 51-year-old Ian Packer was facing a second day of questioning at the High Court in Glasgow. Also on tonight's programme, a showdown looms between local authorities and the Scottish Government over the latter's proposed council tax freeze. Inquiries are ongoing after a 10-year-old girl died following an incident at an Aberdeen swimming pool. We'll bring you the latest.
Coming up in the sport, it's a big night in the Premiership title race as Rangers aim for top spot in the table when they host Ross County at Ibrox.
Plus, more sporting success beckons for a teenager who's already beating the odds and a few goalies after surviving 2 open heart surgeries.
I was extremely lucky and I didn't have any complications, so I just lived life to the fullest.
Hello, I'm Laura McKeever. Welcome to Wednesday's programme. The man accused of murdering Emma Caldwell has admitted under cross-examination that he indecently assaulted her the year before she died. Questioned by the prosecution, Ian Packer agreed that what he had done to the 27-year-old had been criminal. He said he wasn't proud of what he'd done. Our Home Affairs correspondent David Cowan reports.
Ian Packer has told the trial that he picked up Emma Caldwell in this part of Glasgow in August 2004. They agreed to go behind these billboards. He said they started having sex, but then Emma said something like stop or enough. Giving evidence at court yesterday, he accepted he didn't stop straight away and was a bit ashamed of what he'd done. That incident forms the basis for one of the 36 charges Ian Packer has denied at Glasgow High Court. And today, Emma's mother, Margaret Caldwell, listened as he was challenged about it under cross-examination. Questioned by the prosecutor, Richard Goddard KC, Ian Packer agreed that what he did that day had been criminal. Mr Goddard asked him if he accepted that he had indecently assaulted Emma Caldwell. Ian Packer replied yes. He said, "I apologise for that. It's not something I'm proud of." Ian Packer has told the court that on 6 occasions he had taken sex workers, including Emma Caldwell, 41 miles from Glasgow to Limefield Woods in South Lanarkshire. He said he would pay them extra money to do it and it would happen at night. They would go to a different part of the woods from the place where Emma's body was found. Richard Goddard asked him, of all the spots or specks on a map of Scotland, why did you take sex workers there from Glasgow? Ian Packer replied, no idea, came across it, didn't plan to go there originally, it just happened. Why did you travel this extraordinary convoluted route to this remote speck in the hills? It was something to do, got you out of Glasgow, it was a run somewhere. Ian Packer accepted that he had lied during some of the statements he gave to the police after Emma's body was discovered in the woods. He said he had been scared and they had been harassing him constantly. He also accepted he lied during an interview with BBC journalist Sam Polling for national television. He said she had lied to him, so he lied to her. Towards the end of the day, the prosecution started to question him about Emma Caldwell's murder. Ian Packer said another sex worker's claim that he'd been obsessed with Emma and was stalking her was a lot of rubbish. Ian Packer denies murdering Emma Caldwell and has pled not guilty to 35 other charges. The cross-examination will continue tomorrow. David Cowan, Reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Council leaders say they're in a fundamental dispute with the Scottish Government over funding. The council body COSLA says relations have broken down over issues including the planned council tax freeze. The Scottish Government says it's open to discussions but has to be fair to the rest of the public sector. Well, our news correspondent Jamie McIver is with us now. Jamie, some strong words from COSLA.
Indeed, Laura, and remember, COSLA represents all 32 of Scotland's councils from right across the political spectrum. But the relationship between some councils and the Scottish Government has certainly deteriorated recently, ever since the unexpected announcement of a council tax freeze, which was made by the First Minister back at the SNP conference conference in October. Now, the BBC has obtained a private letter sent by COSLA to the First Minister, and that letter pulls no punches. It talks of a fundamental position of dispute, highlighting issues including the council tax freeze and teacher numbers. The letter also raised concerns about what's described as the extremely disappointing tone and content of the letters sent by members of the Cabinet. Now, only last summer, COSLA and the Scottish Government reached an agreement. It was dubbed the Verity House Agreement, and that was meant to improve the relationship between councils and the Scottish Government. But some council leaders would argue that agreement is now effectively over. The Scottish Government, for its part, would argue that it's proposing to give councils a record amount of money in the coming year, and that includes £147 million to pay for the council tax freeze and a similar amount so councils can maintain teacher numbers.
So will that council tax freeze happen then?
Well, councils across Scotland are going to be debating their budgets over the next few weeks, Laura. Today, unions were demonstrating outside Glasgow City Council, arguing local services needed more money to stop cuts. I think the reality is that most councils will accept the council tax freeze, albeit reluctantly in some cases, but I wouldn't be surprised if some do indeed put it up. Inverclyde and Argyll and Bute are certainly examining that possibility, but any rise would need to be in the region of 6 or 7% to actually raise revenue. We'll know what's going to be happening in the next few weeks.
OK, Jamie, for now, thanks for the update. Now, a 10-year-old girl has died in hospital after getting into difficulties at a swimming pool in Aberdeen. The emergency services were called to the pool shortly after 8 o'clock on Monday evening. Our reporter Phil McDonald has more.
It was here at the Get Active facility in Northfield where the young girl got into difficulty while swimming. Emergency services attended and the 10-year-old was taken to Aberdeen Royal Infirmary. Now, Police Scotland issued an update this morning where it was confirmed that the child had died. The force says its thoughts are with the friends and family of the young girl and everyone affected at this time. They say that while inquiries to establish what exactly happened here on Monday evening continue, the death isn't being treated as suspicious. Now, Sport Aberdeen, which runs this facility and others like it in the city, has said that the pool closed following the incident and it will stay closed until further notice. A spokesperson said that they will continue to work with the relevant authorities as inquiries continue. Phil McDonald, reporting Scotland, Aberdeen.
Some of the day's other news now, and Police Scotland say a man's been charged in connection with the death of a 24-year-old woman following a disturbance in Shetland. Officers were called to the Sandnes area on the west side of the Shetland mainland on Sunday afternoon. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. The 39-year-old is due to appear at Lerwick Sheriff Court tomorrow. NHS Western Isles is getting in touch with people who may have come into contact with someone likely to have measles. The Island Health Board say warn and inform notices have been issued, mainly to people who attended the sports centre in Stornoway on Saturday, to make sure they have the appropriate vaccinations. Those who aren't currently protected are being offered a vaccine. Train services in the Highlands have been disrupted after high tides damaged part of the railway's sea defences. The line between Brora and Helmsdale has been closed since Monday, causing cancellations to some connections along the route between Inverness, Wick and Thurso. Pumps have also been brought in to tackle flooding on Golspie Golf Club's course. Now, an anti-abortion group have stepped up their protests outside hospitals and medical centres. 40 Days for Life will run their campaign for the next 6 weeks. However, the Green MSP Gillian Mackay, who's introduced a bill to create safe buffer zones outside clinics, says she hopes this will be the last year of such demonstrations in Scotland. And a warning, there is some flash photography in this next report by our political correspondent Andrew Kerr.
Beginning 40 days of what they call prayerful protest. This anti-abortion group holds their vigil at the start of Lent outside the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Glasgow. There were counter-protest placards behind them. This is near the maternity unit. They say they save lives, but a new bill in the Scottish Parliament is designed to create a 200-metre buffer zone to stop protests getting too near clinics. The demonstrators didn't want to speak, but their representative believes this is an attack on free speech and denies that women are intimidated.
I would say we're not targeting people. This isn't a way to target people. And I believe it is important to go and pray where the place where abortion happens, because abortion doesn't happen in the parliament. It doesn't happen in the law courts. It doesn't happen in schools and universities. It happens in the local community.
But outside the hospital in Wishaw, this Green MSP calls the protests utterly shameful and says the new bill that she's piloting through Parliament could make this the last year of demonstrations in close proximity to clinics.
My bill won't do anything to the right to protest. It just establishes those zones where it's not okay to do so. I strongly believe that there are much better places to protest if you want to change abortion laws, and those are almost certainly outside Parliament and not outside healthcare settings where people are just trying to go about their day and have their appointments.
Back at the hospital in Glasgow, the new Health Secretary was meeting staff, and he says the bill has cross-party support, including that of the Scottish Government.
We want to see it move through Parliament as quickly as possible. We're providing support to her to see that happen. Of course, we want to see a right to protest protected, but that cannot impede upon people, women, accessing medical services.
In England and Wales, there's concern that new laws on buffer zones could be watered down. In Scotland, this legislation could be law by the end of the year, but it could face a legal challenge from campaigners. Andrew Kerr, reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
Now, one of the areas bidding for recognition as Scotland's newest national park has pulled out of the process. The Scottish Government hopes to have a new national park in place by 2026, which it says will protect and enhance natural and cultural heritage assets, while also supporting local communities and managing visitor numbers too. But those behind the Glen Wyvis and Glen Affric bid say the timescale and process mean they won't go ahead. Ian McInnes has more.
It's more than 20 years now since Scotland's first national parks were established in the Cairngorms and Loch Lomond and the Trossachs. But since then, there's been a push for more. The Scottish Government has committed to creating a new national park in Scotland by 2026. But those in places like this that involved in nomination and bidding for that status say they have concerns about the timescale and the process.
It was a difficult call because we were so sort of invested in the idea of a national park, but the cold hard reality is that it's a divisive issue.
Dan's been involved with the Ben Wyvis and Glen Affric bid from the outset, but says the speed of the process has been one of the biggest challenges.
I think it's the realistic and sensible choice in the circumstances. It's not a wedge issue we want to drive into the community, and it's a conversation that really needs to take place over a much longer and more considered time frame. The national park might be a good solution for some areas. It might be a good solution for this area, but we can't rush into these things, and there might be more than one way to skin a cat.
In addition to the two current national parks, when the process was unveiled in October of last year, a number of areas across the country expressed an initial interest. Consultation work is ongoing in many areas, but with at least one area now shelving their plans, there are concerns around how many bids will remain and follow through the process.
I would like to see Lorna Slater go back to the drawing board, look at past work that was done to identify areas that were most suitable for national parks, and then take those areas out to the local communities concerned with firm proposals about what they would do, and then listen to those local communities and find out where a national park might work best.
A Scottish Government spokesperson said they appreciate the hard work the Ben Wyvis and Glen Affric group have put in to exploring a nomination in their area, adding that it's hugely positive that communities across Scotland have been discussing the opportunities and benefits that national parks can bring. The deadline for nominations is the last day of this month, and a decision is expected in the summer from Scottish ministers on which areas will be progressed as national park proposals. Ian McInnes, reporting Scotland.
Tonight's main news again. The man accused of killing Emma Caldwell has admitted in court he indecently assaulted her 8 months before she died.
And coming up in the sport, it's a big night in the Premiership title race as Rangers aim for top spot in the table when they host Ross County at Ibrox.
A teenage footballer who's already undergone 2 open heart surgeries is urging others to follow her example and always follow their dreams. 16-year-old Mia from East Renfrewshire currently plays for Glasgow City under-18s, but having already played for Scotland schools, she's hoping to one day claim a place in the Scotland national team. Aileen Clark has her story.
This was how Mia passed the long hours of lockdown, honing her footballing skills. But as a baby, just getting enough oxygen was difficult enough. A congenital heart defect meant she needed major open heart surgery as soon as she was old enough, at just 13 months.
They made a connection between the heart and the lungs with a donor artery. So very lucky to get a donor artery, and they closed off the hole in the heart.
And that was really successful?
It was very successful, and she's been thriving since.
And she soon swapped her first trike for a football.
When I was 3, with all my wee pals at mini kickers, and just loved it. Played in the garden all the time, couldn't get a ball away from my feet.
Her passion for the beautiful game got her first into local clubs, to Celtic girls and Scottish schools. She plays now for Glasgow City under-18s, but a month ago it was time for surgeons at the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow to repeat that open heart operation.
They replaced the artery, so it's an adult's one, because Mia's one was a baby's one. So I think even your doctors were very impressed that you were still running around the football pitch with a baby-size artery.
And how are you feeling after this latest surgery?
I'm actually quite excited because obviously I was slowing down a bit, struggling to keep up a bit more. So I'm hoping that after this surgery it should bring me back and I should be able to keep up, and I'm just excited to see what I can do when I get back.
Mia had a determined spirit, and it's really kind of driven from Mia, and we've just supported her in every way we can.
Yeah, I'm just hoping to, push on and hopefully make my dream come true.
And what is that dream, Mia?
To be a professional footballer and hopefully represent my country as well. And just show everyone that if you've had bumps in your life, some might be bigger than others, but you can get through them.
Oh, the inspirational Mia there talking to Aileen Clark. Lewis is here with the sport and a couple of games going on tonight.
Absolutely, yes, some really big games indeed, and it's shaping up to be a very interesting title race. Thanks very much, Laura. Hello there. Yes, Rangers defender John Souttar says clarity has played a crucial role in Rangers' strong run of form, with the club able to move top of the league tonight when they face Ross County at Ibrox. Here's the top 6 as things stand. Celtic are 3 points better off and 2 goals better off than Rangers. So Philippe Clement's side could go top if they can muster a win by at least a 3-goal margin. Rangers trailed Celtic by 7 points when Clement took over from Michael Beale in October. And for centre-half Souttar, the simplicity of the Belgians' instructions have improved the team's performances.
I think the gaffers just came in and everyone's bought into what he's doing. There's a lot of clarity whenever you see when boys come in. When they come in, there's not a great deal of change. He makes a lot of changes in rotation, but the performances don't fluctuate that much because when you go in, everyone knows their role and there's real clarity throughout the team, and I think that's brought the consistency in performances you've seen just now.
Well, a short while ago, we spoke to former Rangers striker Billy Dodds at Ibrox. He gave us his thoughts on how the match might go.
It's funny because you see Ross County a couple of weeks ago playing well at Celtic Park, away from home, really put a good performance, made it difficult. All depends how the new manager bounced. Did they get a bounce off that and make sure that they make it hard for Rangers? Or if Rangers get the first goal and maybe even get another one, I would worry for Ross County tonight, I really would. So they're capable of winning by 3 or 4, but as the manager says, it would probably take maybe 1 or 2, just win the game.
Elsewhere tonight, there's a huge match between Aberdeen and Motherwell, with the teams meeting at Pittodrie with very little between them. In fact, the two sides are level on points, albeit Aberdeen with a game in hand. But just look how tight the bottom half of the table is. Only 2 points separate Hibs in 7th and St Johnstone in 10th. And Rangers' opponents Ross County there, desperate for any points on the board to close the gap to those above them. A win from Aberdeen or Motherwell tonight, though, would lift the victors above Hibernian in 7th. And Don's midfielder Leighton Clarkson says he and his teammates are determined to make a push up the table.
Listen, it's going to be tough. They've got some really good players. I know before the cup exit they were in a really good streak, and signed some decent players, and it is going to be tough, but at the same time, we know what we need to do, and we don't want to lose another game now until the end of the year. We want to really go for it and give our all. We need to really step up and show the league what we're about.
Some big games to come this weekend too, and Kilmarnock manager Derek McInnes is trying to sell the idea of a victory at Celtic Park to his players as they aim to maintain their strong run of form in the league. Killie have 2 wins from 3 games against Celtic this season, both of those coming at Rugby Park and most recently in December. McInnes is well aware it's a different task away from home though, but is backing his players to defy the odds.
My job a lot of the time when you go to Celtic Park is to be the best salesman I can be with my players. It's to try and sell that to them, we can do this, and have that belief. And I think that becomes a bit easier for the players, the ones who have played in a couple of victories here against Celtic already this season. There's evidence there that you can say, look, if we do so much right in the game, if we're consistently doing our work properly, if we're organised right, we make good decisions, then you can upset the odds. And ultimately, that's what we're going to try and do on Saturday.
And of course, Laura, I'll have the latest from tonight's games at 9 o'clock over on the BBC Scotland channel.
You will indeed. Some Champions League action tonight as well to keep an eye over.
Big night.
We'll see you then, Lewis.
Thank
you. And now it's over to Stephen Jardine, who is in Johnson for details about tonight's debate night.
For Valentine's night, debate night is back, and this time, for the first time, we're going to be in Johnson. On the panel this evening, answering questions from our studio audience here, we'll have Drew Hendry from the SNP, Jackie Bailey from Scottish Labour, Patrick Harvey from the Scottish Greens, Graham Simpson from the Scottish Conservatives, and comedian and author Joe Caulfield. That's debate night with me from Johnson, 10:30 on the BBC Scotland channel.
And a look at the Valentine's night weather now. Christopher's here. How's it looking?
Bit cloudy and wet, actually, Laura. Not like last night. Under clear skies, the Aurora Borealis on show for a lucky few. Not tonight.
Much more romantic.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Good evening to you. Yeah, a lot of cloud around today and a lot of cloud around overnight tonight, with outbreaks of rain turning increasingly heavy and persistent, certainly through the early hours. Here's the chart. You can see a fairly overcast picture there with outbreaks of rain working their way northwards. Some clear skies for Shetland, but elsewhere it is cloudy and wet. Temperatures around 3 to 8 Celsius as the overnight low. And we start with all that cloud and rain first thing tomorrow because we have a low pressure situated towards the west and its associated weather fronts, bringing a rather grey day tomorrow and certainly, as I mentioned, a wet start. That rain will track its way northwards towards Shetland through the morning, something a little bit dry for the likes of Inverness and Aberdeen as it clears, but the central belt in the south and east, still cloudy and wet into the afternoon, and then perhaps something drier a little bit later on. But temperature-wise, it's on the mild side, 11, 12 degrees, so despite it being cloudy and wet, at least it is mild. As I say, something a little bit brighter pushing through towards the mid-afternoon through the Highlands in towards the Murray coast and in towards Orkney, but the cloud and rain are sticking with you there in Shetland. As we head in towards tomorrow evening, we start to see something a little bit drier and clearer for a time, but actually it's going to be a rather cloudy day on Friday because whilst that area of low pressure is tracking away eastwards, it's going to leave us with a legacy of cloud, a few showers, some spots of drizzle around. And then as we head through towards the afternoon, a few bright spells coming through. So whilst it will be drier on Friday compared with tomorrow, still there will be a few showers around and temperatures in the south once again mild. This weekend, by day, largely dry, but by night, overnight Saturday to Sunday, this weather front bringing some rain. Let me explain that in detail because you can see here Saturday, mostly dry, fairly cloudy, a few bright spells, 1 or 2 showers, temperatures again mild. Overnight, that rain behind me sweeps east. And on Sunday, it should be out the way, which means the second half of the weekend still largely dry, but also largely cloudy, 1 or 2 showers, and once again, temperatures of 11 or 12 degrees. That's the forecast for now.
Thank you, Chris. Fairly mild, really.
Indeed,
for this
yes.
time of year.
Very
okay. Well, we'll see you later. You'll be here for the late bulletin.
I will.
Thanks for now. Let's get a look now at tonight's main news once again. The man accused of murdering Emma Caldwell has admitted under cross-examination that he indecently assaulted her the year before she died. Ian Packer denies murdering her. And a 10-year-old girl has died in hospital after an incident at an Aberdeen swimming pool. Emergency services were called to the pool shortly after 8 o'clock on Monday evening. Thanks for being with us this evening. Christopher and I will be back here with your late news around 10:30 tonight. From all of us here, until then, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.